Hey, how's it going? We're here with another live episode of the Kickblocks podcast. My name's Nick,
And I'm Dro.
and we've got a very special guest in the building. We've got Kraznik, a very fire coder who we managed to get on the podcast today, winner of loads and loads of different hackathons around the world. And so we're really excited to get to talk to you today.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Nice being here.
Awesome. Also, Kraznik, I feel like I'm hearing a dog. Dro, is that your dog or is that
That's
Kraznik's
me.
dog?
Let
That's
me get
okay.
them fine. They're wilding out a little bit, but they'll be okay. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. Kraznik, how have you been, man? How's your day going?
Good, pretty good. Just ate some food like half an hour, so now back to work.
Nice. Okay, cool. So, right now, are you I know your camera off, so are you completely anonymous coder? How do you feel about sort of your identity online?
Like a pseudo anon. So like some people that I know, they have seen me, visited them, but I like to like keep anon, like kind of that I don't reveal my face, identity, and all this stuff because of like it's just how it is. Like with Krasnik, it has new rules. I can create my own identity, right? So there's no
Hmm.
boundaries, no biases that comes into that. Most
Hmm.
of if I comes with like my own name, my everything. There's a lot of bias that comes into this. So that's why like I created Krasnik and built the personality out of that.
Yeah. That's super cool. I like that a lot. And so, when you go to hackathons, do people know you as Kraznik, or do you sort of keep a low profile?
Now low profile, like that always the best. No glamour, no nothing, just under the low. Yeah.
Word. Hey, cool. Sounds good. So, tell us a little bit about sort of your past, your history. When did you start coding for the first time?
2018 or 19, like late 2018, early 2019, around that time. So
What?
before that, I started mining Dogecoin. So like the last crypto bull run in 2017.
Hmm.
So my friend just called me, like he was mining Dogecoin at the time, so he hooked me up. So that was the start of my like the whole tech space, like the whole like the real tech space. There's like a lot of tech spaces around the world, but the real like hardcore coding, hardcore dev stuff. So that's how I started. Like I mined Dogecoin for at least like 3 years. Now I stopped it. Like I started like mid 2020. I stopped mining Dogecoin, but yeah, that was the entry to me.
Cool. That's actually really inspirational to hear that you just started coding in 2018 and you're already, winning these hackathons all over the world. And so what kind of coding do you specialize in? Is it full stack? Is it back end? Is it front end? What do you like to do?
Yeah, so no backend. So like no traditional backend, like no Node.js. Like I'm not the expert in that guy. Front end. If you share me the Figma file, I can code that up, and then also like the blockchain and the DeFi stuff, like working on different chains, Ethereum, Solana, Tezos, all of, like I've explored many chains that people have not heard of. So my backend is just the blockchain. So I don't like to link any centralized database. Just the blockchain is my backend.
That's so cool. So, just off of that, how do you tackle? Because you've just kind of started your development journey in the last 5 years, which is amazing. Um, how do you tackle having to learn the different languages that different blockchains use, and staying agile like that and staying flexible to learn those?
Interesting question, to be honest. Like it's a step by step process. So like I do like things in phases. So like when I'm exploring ETH, I'm stuck to ETH for at least 6 months. So now like after 6 months, then I like move to Solana, and then only Solana, like nothing else. No, all of the noise I just shut it down. So then the next 6 months like Ripple. So there's like phases I go to, like 6 month sprints I call them. So like every 6 months I try to like explore new stuff. So whether it could be a chain, it could be like a DeFi thing or an NFT thing or like whatever it is. But like 6 months, high sprint, and then see what it takes me there.
And in these 6 months, are you building a project? Are you doing side things? Are you like what are you doing in these 6 months to, get the most out of that sprint?
So first is like explore the ecosystem as much as possible, and for me the best way is through hackathons because that's the ground layer, right? Because all of the folks that are building projects that are like higher up, they are sponsoring the hackathon, so I get to meet them, meet the sponsors, have a chat, how the mindset is. So that's the best way, and then build on the sponsor so that I can get a bootstrap thing. I can like bootstrap all the things together in the hackathon, and then do that. So and then educating myself through like Twitter, YouTube, all of the blogs that can happen, like Mirror, Substack. I follow a lot of folks there. So, but it's like pure hackathon. I don't like go towards like a more of a history route. Like I don't want like be a theoretical person. I don't like I'm working on Solana, but I still don't know a lot of stuff on Solana, and it doesn't bother me. Like if I can code straight up, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, that's super cool. And so do you, for example, like when you're going to a hackathon, like how do you get your ideas for the things you're gonna build?
Now it's always before the hackathon. So like let's say the hackathon is for this weekend, right? So the idea should be ready by mid Thursday, like mid Thursday or Friday. I don't go to the hackathon without an idea. It's just like a recipe for failure, to be honest, because I'm not going to participate. My goal is to win
Hmm.
at this point. So like because if I go with the participation mindset, right, then there's like a lot of like there's a mindset difference. If I'm going there for a win, so like I clutter all of the things that are not needed, and then I just focus on the winning part. So for me, like I've like seen a pattern with like done so many hackathons. If I go in a hackathon without an idea, right, I can feel my like the code is not great. I like there's no clear vision to that. So like every time there's a big hackathon, the idea is prepared beforehand, all of the like the edge cases, like not the coding part but all of the product side of a thing, so like writing PRDs on Notion, like familiarizing with the code base. Okay, here we are going to use these APIs, these are the endpoints, this sponsors and everything. But yeah, that's how I follow.
Cool, cool, cool. And as you're taking these ideas, do you ever like fall in love with that idea and say, hey, I'm gonna try to build this into something bigger afterwards, or do you sort of build it, the hackathon, and then move on to the next one?
No, so there's been like four or five ideas that have like gone beyond the hackathons. So one that I built during ETH Global, it has like around 20,000 daily active users right now. So it's like a white label product. Each community can use their own. So there are at least five ideas right now that people are using, but they are like all bootstrap ideas. I just feel like I'm not there to take the responsibility like fundraise. Like I just don't feel comfortable enough to take that responsibility right now. So it's like beyond like low level things that okay, here it is. If you need them, it's an open source thing. I can bootstrap you and then go from there.
Got it, got it, got it. That's super interesting. I love that approach. You said you feel like not comfortable right now. What would need to change for you to feel comfortable getting funding? Would it be like finding other co-founders, or would it be like finding an idea that's just taking off so fast that you can't stay away from it? What would need to change for you to want to like sort of participate further and on a
Like,
long-term basis?
yeah, yeah, it's an interesting. I like I always think like almost once a month. Like what's the next step, right? Like funding is not an issue. I can raise funds. Like that's not the hardest part. Like I know folks, like I know VCs, I know big people. That's not the hardest part for me. The hardest part for me is like right now there's like a lot of noise in the crypto space. Like anyone can raise funds. With that, you don't get the best money that you can get. So right now I'm just like laying low. Uh, it's just like I don't feel like I feel like I need like couple of more years to launch the whole thing, to take the whole responsibility, right? I don't want to like I want to have a lean team, like 2 3 people, that's it, and we can build shit up. Because like 2 3 people working 24/7 at least 6 months, you can like compete with any other person with the dedication that I have and with the resources that I can bring on. So like a lean team, I love that. I don't want to take responsibilities for others, like paying other like that. That's not what I'm good at. I'm good at like building shit up, starting from scratch, bootstrap the thing, and then take it to scale, right? So I just feel like it's going to be like a couple of years to get that experience, because there's like a lot of nuance that has to be figured out that I still not know yet. And yeah, you brought up a good point, like finding a co-founder. I just don't trust other people with my code, so that's also a issue. So if I'm coding the thing, like I'm the coding the thing, no one's gonna touch that thing. Like you can create a new branch and make your own thing up, but like I like to be like a one man army. That's it.
Mm, interesting, interesting. Yeah, I've seen different takes on developer. I actually saw something. I think Nick, I think you might have seen it too. Somebody that we interviewed here recently tweeted. They said FTX only has 12 engineers. Your
Yeah.
DeFi project doesn't need like 20. You know, you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about? Like, and that was interesting because one of the replies was, if you give me one, I forgot what the developer name is. It's some genius guy. I really wish I would remembered his name. But if you give me him, he could just create a $1 trillion company by himself. So I really feel you when you say, like, one man army development teams can be underrated because you fail as fast and reiterate as fast as you do, and you're not waiting on your teammates to kind of review and look at. So there's pros and cons. One
For sure.
I think the interesting thing that I wanted to touch on that topic of founders and everything. We've talked to some teams now that have taken different approaches. The latest team that we talked to, it's three young engineer guys, all three of them very motivated, all three of them, developers, and they work together well. I think because they were friends first, and then um, project co-founders second, right? So in that case, it worked. But coming from the other way, right? If you don't have, some college friends, or if you don't have some colleagues or peers already, and you're looking for a co-founder, that's got to be really hard in this space, right? To trust somebody with a project. So, have outside of founding your own project, have you worked on any open source projects? Maybe had people review your stuff in that way, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I think I've contributed to like multiple open source repos. Like Gitcoin is one of
Nice.
them. Then everything that I build is open source. So I don't have a private repos. Everything is open source. So even if I build something cool that is being used by a lot of folks, you can just fork thing up. So like I believe in the open economy. Like that will
Nice.
uh truly help like each other, because that's how I learned. Like I didn't learn in the closed private doors. I learned from the open market, that I feel like. And I feel like open market can determine the true value. So whether it's like financial markets, or like the repos that we share on GitHub or GitLab, whatever you prefer. So I feel like that's good. But like raising coming to the back to the point, right? So this is like a personal issue to me, like because in the college, like I'm still in college, so it's not like
Hmm.
I've passed. I still have like a year to go. So there's a, like what I said, there's a mindset difference, right? When you started college, everyone is at the same playing field, right? Everyone has the same experience, almost same, like plus minus 5%.
Right.
But then for me, the case was like COVID hit, right? So and then what I call myself like COVID was a steroid growth for me. Like I growth has a very massive rate when compared to others. So now they can't even like the mindset doesn't match what I say. They can't understand, they just
Right.
don't
Right.
feel relatable, right? So there's a huge gap between like what I'm doing, what they are doing, what my mindset is, what their mindset is. So we can't like vibe together. So with the college, that was the thing. So I found like couple of friends through hackathons that I've been working with. So most of the times, like at least like last 30 hackathons, me and another person does the hackathon. So like we are two members, so like me and she does the thing. So like that also brings a different perspective to my code base, because earlier I was writing things up, and I was like I'm like a messy code writer, so like things need to be good to like someone to review. So she does that part so that everyone can understand the thing, and she also helps me a lot of things there too. And having like a female in a hackathon, that also helps, to be honest.
Interesting. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I love hearing your experience with hackathons. I mean, the way you described it, right? Like that's like the base, the core, the people building on top of the blockchains are the people who are really kind of driving this ecosystem forward. What are you most interested in? You mentioned you do 6 month sprints as a way to learn, and that's worked for you so far. You have experience in a few different blockchains, but in terms of a specific topic or category, is it DeFi? Is it NFTs? Is it blockchain infrastructure? Or is it D apps? Like, what is it that interests you, that you want to build in the future?
Like public goods, like they are really like close to my heart. Like because like GitHub is a open public goods, right? Because like everyone can make money in crypto if you are at the right time, right place. And I'm fortunate enough, I have the resources that I don't have to think from that angle, like to survive. I have enough money to
Hmm.
survive. So like, and then all of the DeFi, NFT, it's good, but I feel like we need to do better. Like that's what the crypto economics and primitives provide us. And to do better, we need to do more public goods. And by public goods, I mean like there's a lot of like open source economy, right? Like everyone is copying. Like we always use like npm libraries, right? But
Right.
we don't ever donate to them, right? So we are like a free rider. We are in like a free rider
Mm,
problem to them. So like public goods, helping public goods grow, because that's like almost a $2 trillion economy. So that's why I love like projects like Gitcoin, Doing Good that I work with, Give It, Common Stack, because I learned from like the open economy, which is like public goods, right? So I want to contribute back to them. I have the resources now, so that's the most exciting thing for me. Why? Because we need to do better. Because like it's just like we have to do better. Otherwise, everyone is gonna be like scared to them, and then nothing is gonna work out. Things then everyone has like a bad ego towards each other, which is not gonna work for the long run. So I feel like public goods is the reason, and with crypto, it provides the resources too.
nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I love that you mentioned how during the pandemic, I'm sure the quarantine that everyone went through, you had like a major growth for you in your developer journey. Um, I just had a thought come to play. I'm hearing more and more, and even myself, like I went to school, but I didn't finish, and I ended up working in technology anyway. We interviewed somebody who is a developer right now, going to school, but he's getting ready to launch and go through a seed round for a project. So he's looking at school like, why am I even doing this, right? And
Yep.
you had the sentiment that your peers just weren't at the same level as you, and what that tells me is, you know what? I mean, Web3 is fast, right?
Oh,
Everything is going so fast. So, how do you feel about traditional school? You're going through it right now. And what's lacking there to build the next Web3 developers? Because that's a space right now on Twitter. If you type in Web3 developers, you'll see a bunch of DAOs and a bunch of really good Twitter accounts that are helping people become Web3 developers. But I'm wondering what your take is in on what college or university, what aren't they doing to prepare people to become Web3 developers?
like the frank answer is like the people that are teaching there, they're just not capable enough to like teach us the web3 stuff, right? Because the place that where I go to school to, like far away, like they are not like, when I say to like bitcoin and blockchain, like it's like over their head. Like they don't even understand how PayPal works, so I cannot expect them to understand what bitcoin and all this stuff are, right? So like and then there's like the other issue that I've personally felt is like if you get in the conflict, right, with a professor, with a teacher, with a
Yeah.
university, they take to their personal ego, right? They don't have like a good like
Mm,
argument. They always take to the personal ego, and then they always try to like down you with like bad grades or everything, or like they try to push you down, right? Rather than accepting that we are wrong, we don't have that mindset. They try to push you down, and then like I'm not a person who will get pushed, right? So I don't care about grades at this point. So I will always like pull back and like say this is not things gonna work. Let's take a bet. Like if you are truly honest, like let's take a bet. So they take these things rather than having like a friendly relationship. Like there's something needs to be going on. Like some sparks need to be there, right? Otherwise, like anyone can speak the same thing that the teacher can, right? If there is not a personal connection, whether through like small bets getting there, like taking small bets with like how the technology is moving, it's not gonna work. So that's what I felt like. Teachers and like especially like uni teachers take everything to their personal ego.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, when they get to that point, a professor at a university, for anybody who might be listening who isn't familiar, typically has to not just have their bachelor's. Typically, they have to have their bachelor's, a master's, maybe even a PhD, and then
Yep.
have proved themselves in a company, a project, a venture, something. Right? Like these universities try to look for people who are at least decent reputation in the industry to be professors there. But it's interesting that you say that because now I think back to my first coding class in college, and it was a Java class. But I just remember that the professor who who was talking there, he said Oh yeah, the first language that I learned was Opal or something like that, and that's what he did. Or I was like, whoa, and like a lot, and I just remember thinking that guy. I was like, wow, this guy's really smart for what he knew. But then it was a classroom of 30 of us who were sitting there, kind of like twiddling our fingers, waiting to learn faster, right? And he was just stuck in his old ways of
Yeah.
learning things. And I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you there. That I think a lot of it is they don't. You need a Web3 dev to teach you how to be a Web3 dev, right? You can't have some Web2 person come in and try to teach all of that. So that's pretty cool. Um, moving forward, you find yourself right now in all these hackathons, you're building. Do you have your eyes set on, you mentioned, goods, open goods. Do you have your eyes set on a project you want to build? You don't have to give us any of the details if you want to build something, it's currently being built or anything. But more what I'm asking is like, how do you want to contribute to that space then? Like what type of project are you looking to eventually build?
Hmm. Good question. Like never thought of that. So thinking on the spot,
Or
like
even
I
a
don't want to
project that
go.
you've seen in the space that really impressed you. That you
Oh yeah,
you looked at and you said, "Hey, I want to build something like that."
yeah. So for sure, then there's a lot of. So like I'm really into like all the finance stuff, like on the like the options, derivatives, spread trades, and everything. Like I'm a financial rat, right? I've learned through the open net. So I really like the products that bring those access on chain. Like I can do like options, derivative on chain, and those are like some of the fascinating products because if you think right, there is no much of like in the traditional market, there's a lot of like liquidity around. There's a financial product that are so complex and there's enough liquidity, but these are built from scratch, like from zero, right? So how they bring that liquidity and all the stuff, which is very fascinating to me. So I like tend to enjoy all of the like the not the traditional DeFi, but like more like degen DeFi, which is like
Right.
100x or zero, because like there's like a lot of stuff going on the back end, which like most people will not understand. But if you understand enough, right, then you have like the asymmetric information arbitrage. You can do those stuff, and in crypto, there's a lot of arbitrage going on. And if you get this right info, right time, you can make shit ton of money. And money will always be revolved in crypto. Like money is just like a
Yeah.
part of it. You cannot move towards it if you like. Even if I say right, I don't want money, it will never happen in crypto because the incentive is through tokens, right? So whether I'm getting a token, it's a monetary asset to that. So that's what I feel like. Like all the options, like Solana is very good in like options, Zeta market, Mango markets, Cadena, those stuff, like very fascinating reading their docs and everything. Other than that, then the biggest project that I inspired to like how they have built is Gitcoin. Like I'm really a big fan. They did not like all of the projects that we are seeing or listening to, right? They did their fundraise, which is then you have like special interest in the ecosystem, right? That's what we are trying to avoid. We don't want special interest in the whole ecosystem. That's what crypto is providing, and Gitcoin did that very best. Like there was no special interest. They took long, agreed, but they did the right thing. And how Gitcoin should be, like it's an open source system and the public goods. So I feel like this philosophy needs to be more embedded. Like you don't need to raise, right? Like
Mhm.
you can build stuff without raising through like donations and like quadratic funding that are out there. Why are we going like I've seen this in like Web3 founders that are like first time Web3 founders or like first time founders that are coming into Web3, like they try to go to VCs. VCs are not your target audience in crypto. Like there's a lot of, I'm telling you, like there are shit ton of anon folks. They have more money than VCs, and they will be more accessible than a VC. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't need to
Yeah.
go that route again because we have gone through route in the Web2 space, and we know like all of the big things are owned by 5 or 6 people, and we can count them on our like fingertips, right? We don't want that. That's what we're trying to avoid. But I've seen a lot of founders go into the same rabbit hole again and again.
Yeah, yeah. I interesting that you say that in terms of funding. I have two questions actually.
Yep.
One I want to get off so really quickly for your experience in hackathons and how this and you're talking about people getting VC funding and everything. Um, how profitable like, how much do you think people can make in hackathons throughout a year? Like if somebody uh
A
was,
lot,
yeah,
a
like
lot, a lot. Like easily, like okay. So if you go like straight degen route, right? Like hackathon after hackathon, like we are talking like seven, six, seven figures, easily. Like if you are capable, right? Like
right,
it will take you time. Like it will take you, let's say, 6 months, but after that, it's a piece of cake. Why? Because each hackathon, they are saying you what they are wanting, right? It's not like a job, like something is coming up again and again. They clearly say on the website, this is what we're expecting. If you can build this is the prize money. So if you backtrack, right? If you put that into an equation, I want to put X effort to get the output
right,
Y. It's very simple equation if you go to the maths of it. And I'm saying like six, seven figures very easily. And
cool,
that too, like you can travel, you don't need to worry about all of the stuff, like rent, all the stuff, right? You can like live in a like a developing
yep,
country, like Bali or everything. That the cost of living is too low and you can earn in dollars, right? So like I've seen folks, not many folks, like to be honest, like maybe a couple of those that have made seven figures for sure, like for sure, like because in the Web3 hackathons, you don't get like a fiat money, right? You get the tokens of the native hackathon,
right,
right? Like it's ETH, and then there's appreciation towards that, right? So if you go to the right part of the problem, right? Right chain. So like I won the Solana hackathon when Solana was $1. So I have a lot of appreciation towards Solana, right? In the terms of like the money that I got and the appreciation that Solana
yeah,
token got. Easily six, seven figures. If you but then you don't have to divert, right? People divert after 5, 2, 3 months. That's what I've seen. Like I've tried my like friends, like let's go, let's build shit up. But like they get tired after like 3, 4 hackathons. Like it's a very tedious task, to be honest. You have to
okay.
put in the effort. You have to put in the hustle. That's what I'm saying.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, I think in anything, right? Like you said, like you get what you get out of it, the amount of effort you put in, right? So you can't expect to make seven figures if you only want to do two or three hackathons a year. But if you're willing to put in the time, I totally get that. Cool. And so, moving forward, and kind of in the same light, right? So let's, you mentioned these projects coming up, these developers, these heads of these projects looking for Web2 VC funding. I actually
Yep.
was listening on a Twitter space the other day where somebody was mentioning how that's actually a bad move, right? For these Web3 projects, which coincides with what you're saying. And the thought process for this person, why they said it was a bad move, is because Web2 VCs don't understand the speed and the volatility of Web3. And when you get these investors that come in, they're going to get scared because they don't understand Web3. They don't understand the blockchain that they're probably investing in. They just kind of see that you're doing something, this could be big. And then, your project dies out in a year because you're having trouble, getting through everything with and following through. It was more elaborate, but I guess the idea was you can't try to build something in Web3 using Web2 tools, right? And what that takes me in is so Gitcoin is a great example, and hackathons are a great example. What's your take? And this is coming from me now, right? I've always
Yep.
thought that NFTs for like the very even the big ones, right? Like the profile picture ones like Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks and like all those, right? That's
Yep.
a that's been a cool use case to observe for the last few years, but at some point I don't feel like that is what is going to be the main use for NFTs. And I see NFTs already being used in certain cases for like crowdfunding for these type of technical projects. Like if anybody listening is familiar, and maybe you, Kraznik, it being in Solana, the the shady coders, right?
Yep.
So they dropped their NFT, gave them tons of fun. I mean, it's still trading at a super high floor, right? And they're gonna
$100,
yeah, and they're
something
gonna
like.
get they're gonna get all the royalties from that and stuff. So they're gonna get some continue. But their project isn't a here's a PFP, here it looks cute, here you go. They're really, really building infrastructure for Solana, right? And they're
Yep.
building up to it. I think that is a great use case for how NFTs can be used, right? And not for just speculation of value. right? Like you can see the value in why are the shady coders worth so much? Well, here's all the technical work that they've done to support Solana, right? Why is OK Bears this value? Well, the speculation is the team is going to be able to make the brand huge, right? Those are two different things to hear from an
Yeah.
investor's point of view, right? So, what's your take on that? Well, how do you feel about NFTs, being used in the future for projects? Do you see this happening, or do you kind of see it staying the same way?
No, for sure. Like I describe like in my thesis, NFTs are three types. One is that run on the hype, like all the
Yeah.
hype projects, right? Like all the PFN, like they are the hype machine. That's it. Like hype goes down, floor price goes down, everyone loses money. Then there's projects like Gary V, like V Friends. He's bringing a real world utility towards it, right? He's claiming them like I will try my best to make the V Friends the next Disney, right? So there's like those categories that
Right.
are bringing like attached to a personality, and then they're trying to do that. Like Cool Man Universe is one of those, Doodles is one of those. They're not going with the hype route, and I love them because they are not going the hype route, because hype always goes down. Everything that goes up will come down.
Right.
Like, you can FOMO till the very top, and the next day you are, oh thank god I did not invest in it, right? That always happens, right? And then there's third category that is doing public goods, like crowdsourcing, right? So like I don't know if you heard about like Lobby Lobsters. So they are an NFT project. All of the money that was raised, right, that went to lobby the went into lobbying, so that the all the Web3 things, DeFi would be accepted in the Congress, and there's like more familiar, like more friendly rules toward that. So they did that. Gitcoin moonshot. So everything that moonshot like by Gitcoin like raised, right? So they also like went into public goods, and then I don't know if you guys know about Yes Theory. They are also raising money for their documentary by NFTs. So they declined the like a Web 2 investor 1.25 million, right? Because they were not aligned with the values. So they are going with the public, with the fans to raise money. And I truly believe like raising money is one of the best use cases. Hype is gonna die down for sure. Like how much it survives, no one knows. Like to be honest. But there's some interesting utility that is coming up, especially in the NFT space. It just like hype will always overshadow all of the rest of the things, right? Because if like if price goes up, everyone will look into that. Even we look into it, right? So it's just like a human tendency. We try to like shadow all of the things because price is going up. But if it comes down, right, then we will like, okay, I'm not the one holding the bag, and then we look into other things. So it's just like bull market in crypto. Right
Yeah.
now we are like at peak. It will come down. I'm waiting to it come down so that there's a lot of noise going around here. So you have to block things out, listen to only the folks that you believe in, and that's what my thinking is on that point.
Cool. 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 Yeah, I mean, I agree with you here, man. It's one of those things that we try to focus here on um people onboarding into the space and try to make sure that when we ask questions, that we get some insight from people that are already onboarded like yourself, right? So on the topic of onboarding people to the space, I mean, adoption is going to be what if nobody adopts this technology, it doesn't matter how good all the developers are, right? It's nobody's using it. In terms of adoption, Kraznik, what do you see being a major milestone or a major action that needs to occur for the masses to adopt? Like we've seen all the stats, right, where eBay has a certain amount of money being used a year, and OpenSea is only like a fraction of that, right? And certain things like that. So, what is your take on what is it going to take for the rest of the world to adopt this technology?
So one thing that comes to it is like mobile friendliness, because all of the Web3 stuff that you do is desktop, right? And 90% of the people on the internet are mobile friendly. Like they have only the mobile, the smartphone in it, right? So we are not ready for that, because even the browsers, wallets, they are not friendly with like the smartphones. And I feel like that's gonna be the next step that will like at least 3 or 4 times the users, like regardless whatever it is, right? Because then you are more access, you are like democratic the access to everyone. That's one for sure. Like because all of the stuff that you do is like web, not
Mm,
everyone does that, and web is just like very small portion. If you see like the internet you usage, mobile friendliness is much greater than the web. So that's one. Other than that, I feel uh, like how does like El Salvador did, right? So like
Mm,
these
yeah.
countries need this stuff like this tech. I'm not saying Bitcoin is the right answer or not. I'm not the one deciding that, but this will onboard more people in the more developing countries where the economy is slower. Like the innovation will always go where we never expected. Like US is not gonna adopt first, that for sure, right? Because we know, like, like, it's just the risk curve, right? You, the innovation will always go to the highest risk, and El Salvador took that. So I feel like all of these developing countries will took that first, and US, all those like big countries will be the last one to take that or accept that. That's my thesis on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. For sure. Nick.
Yeah, I was thinking, sort of thinking about the adoption as well. I definitely agree with the mobile side of things. I've been seeing people say that, NFTs are also like a big adoption avenue for a lot of people. Do you see that as being valid, or do you think that like NFTs aren't useful enough to be like a big on ramp
Now,
for a lot of
for
people?
sure, for sure, like NFTs played their part. Like NFT played their part. That's it. Like NFT played their part. Now it's there no more, because now it has reached to the point where, like, if you ask like everyone who wanted to come into NFTs is into NFTs. The person who doesn't want now will not come. It's just like you are just like irritating him with those words again and
Yeah.
again. Like we see
Hmm.
like all the
Hmm.
like the artist, like one of the best use cases that NFTs provide is to the digital artist, right? So I've seen digital artists change their life within a month or a year, right? Like according to the time span that you asked for. So NFTs has played their part, but it's not gonna be like, okay, NFT is gonna be the answer to all those things. But they have played their part to like widen the adoption of like the whole crypto sphere. But yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it does feel like there is a saturation, I guess, on the definitely on the PFP side of things. From a technology's perspective, what do you think NFTs are going to go next? Because I think right now we just think about them as JPEGs, but clearly there's a lot, a lot of other digital assets that can be explored. So, do you think that there is like sort of like a NFT renaissance that might happen where we really focus on another application that actually provides a lot more value?
for sure. Like I feel like all these PFPs, another one that the Twitter, you can only show one PFP on Twitter, right? We have to agree on that. You don't need 100,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like the tech side is gonna come as soon as the hype goes down, because then people will be interested. Okay, what's the new tech that's coming around in the NFTs, right? So one of the tech that I'm building personally is NFTs at like event tickets. Like you buy the NFT and then that's your like entry to a ticket. That's more cool and it increase more revenue because it can be traded on the secondary market. Let's suppose you buy a ticket at the early bird price, and the day before the event someone is willing to pay 10x for that. You have a couple of tickets, right? You can easily sell, and then all of the revenue like the royalties will go to the company that is organizing, so it adds another revenue to them. And NFTs at tickets, it reduces, I'm telling you, like it reduces 70% of the bad actors in like the traditional space, because I'm building that myself and I've seen like how it can be gamed, the web 2 ticketing plays. So that's one that I'm personally building. Other, I'm like very nascent stage. I don't feel comfortable commenting because I have not like explored them enough. But yeah, like there's gonna be like a tech boom for NFTs, like new things on NFTs, just not PFP. Like the
Yeah.
it's gonna be like deep under the tech level.
Yeah, no, I just want to comment on. I think you mentioned the mobile thing. I think that is really really key. I was reading an article the other day on just the topic that not every country in the world went through the laptop or a home computer revolution. So like not every like world country in the world has gone through the same thing that first world countries have, where the laptop, the desktop became accessible to have at home even. And what
Yep.
ended up happening was they skipped that. So they just
Yes.
completely skipped that technology and went mobile first. And I guess what we're seeing here is it's interesting, right? We're seeing that most of the developers in the space are usually people coming from these first world countries. The especially the project leads. I feel like a lot of the project leads I'm hearing are for these blockchains are either European based, North American based. You know what I'm talking about? Something like that, or maybe even Asian based. And when you get into some of the countries that didn't go through that revolution, they'll end up being some of the biggest users of these platforms, despite being not all the way there with a desktop or a laptop. I remember seeing something about how some of the biggest projects are being made out in the Philippines, and some of the best developers or biggest teams are coming out of India, and they're meeting up in South Asia, other places in South Asia to develop. And you start to wonder, it's like, well, if these regions of the world are using it more than certain other regions of the world, right? It has to eventually cater to the way that those countries have been developing, right? So yeah, no, I have to agree with you, Nick. I think you had a question.
Yeah, I was gonna ask sort of about I would love to hear your thoughts, Kraznik, on sort of the metaverse and how close we are. I know that there's a lot of infrastructure details that need to be ironed out before we can come close to some sort of like what the people are envisioning. But would love to hear from you. What do you think about the whole metaverse space? Do you think it's valid? Do you think we're close? And what technological implementations need to be had before we can get there?
I feel like we are very far away from like the metaverse that people are visioning, like at least 10 years. 10 years, and then there will be the early risk takers that are willing to take, because there's like a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built on the tech part. And like all the people that are voicing these things on Twitter, they don't understand like how the tech works, underlying tech, right? It's really hard to build that amount of tech within even an year, right? Because it takes a lot of amount of resources like to build a metaverse. And I feel like we are far 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 away from that. Like, to be honest, like even like Decentraland took 5 years, and we like even it is as shitty as anyone can imagine, right? Imagine like the people that are envisioning like the Meta one, the Facebook one. It's gonna take years, like
Yeah,
even decades, like at least a decade, like until 2030. There's nothing coming around that people are gonna use, because like I don't know if you have used Oculus. Like after 30 minutes, it's get irritating. Like your head start wobbling. You don't want like put the device down and then like relax. Like, it's not very like sustainable for a long period of time. So it's very far away, and the tech is like so at the nascent stage that it's like just not iron out. Like we need to build. No one is building the tech. Everyone is just like selling land. Like even the Bored Ape, like that's my like one of the criticism that I had with like the sale that it did. I agree they're one of the best teams, but it takes a tremendous amount of effort to build a metaverse. Like even a game.
yeah, and it's so true, right? Like if Meta, the parent company for Facebook now, if Meta is pouring all this money into trying to build a metaverse, and they haven't released it yet, right? Like, what makes you think that some little project, or I shouldn't say little, but what makes you think any project coming out today or last year is going to build something, in half a year? And like you're right. Not a lot
Yeah.
of people really understand where we are with that technology, but technology aside, I want to take it a little bit to the psychological aspect for a second, because adoption, right? Adoption matters. Do you see the masses actually wanting to connect to the metaverse? Do you see people coming home from school and putting on their going into the metaverse to hang out with their friends? Or because one of the cases that I had for this was that's what's being publicized now. I think marketplaces, like places like B2B, or even just buying like consumer purchases, can happen on the metaverse. That'll be cool. And then you buy it on the metaverse and maybe it gets shipped out to you, right? Amazon builds an Amazon warehouse metaverse and you can just grab something. I envision things like that, right? Or the other use case I had was, these big political summits like the G7, G6, whatever it is, like the Geneva conventions, all this stuff. I could see people using the metaverse for those conventions and stuff like that, as opposed to, spending money on taking all those people there. But I'm not very bullish on the idea that even when this technology exists in 10 years, that we're all going to be sitting here like
like Ready Player One, you know, where you put on your headset and you kind of want to live in that metaverse. Because that's kind of
Mm,
what like the utopia is, right? Oh, we're all going to be connected to the metaverse and it's going to be great. What's your take on it?
I completely agree. I don't think so that what we are like seeing in the media is gonna be the outcome. Like like I cannot wear sunglasses for like more than an hour. Like my ears, my eyes feel like they feel pressured, right? So I like I can't assume wearing a Oculus, especially at this one, the Oculus that we have. Like it's so heavy, and like I completely agree. I don't know what we are gonna be right. Like I've like attended some metaverse conferences. Like you are as like decentralized. I've attended like one of two things in Decentraland. It's just not like that friendly, and there's a purpose for like in their life meetups. Like there's a purpose to need connect with people, right? Like I think no one can replace that with the metaverse. Like the connections that you get, and then you can see a lot of things when you meet real life with the person just by their body language, right? I don't know, the tech is going to be advanced by that point. At which point like like my hair is moving around, right? At which point in the metaverse the character hair is going to be moving around, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that happens in real life that cannot happen on the digital scale until it's like one-on-one mapping. And one-on-one mapping is like not coming anytime soon, like at least 2 decades, because it's so hard to replicate those stuff. Like the tech is not even built yet. So yeah.
Mm, okay. Yeah, yeah, no, I feel you. It's hard to speculate on it, obviously, because it is just pure speculation. But I just I don't see it going the way the media is portraying it to go. It's just the real world. It's still the real world, right? Like you said, like
Yeah.
you still like the wind in your face, the sun hitting your skin, the smell of like a great restaurant when you go out and you want to go eat there. Like cool, maybe you can mimic all those things, but then I take out like my headset and like I am where I am, right? So I mean, there's a lot of theories for it. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it definitely is a very tough task. I think that a lot of companies are focusing in and are trying to focus on the metaverse and on that infrastructure. And so I do think that there's a lot of like smart people working on it. But it is such a step change in bandwidth and in latency and in just the amount of tech that's needed just to make some of these things possible and feel natural, right? We get so much out of being in the same room with someone, the micro expressions that we see on their faces. And I don't know if human computer interaction is there yet, but I mean, there's so many things that we weren't close to and have seen dynamic shift changes in the past. And so I don't want to rule it out, but I do agree that there's a lot of work to be done. And so I think that's where I come from. I come from a place of like believing that people, in concert, smart people with concentrated effort can accomplish, anything, but also with the realistic idea that some of this stuff is infrastructure stuff and you can't rush it, right? You can't move fast and break things when you really need to like lay down wire or you need to upgrade the amount of bandwidth that's needed for a certain tech stack. So does that sort of make sense?
Yeah,
Totally agree. I totally agree with that.
yeah, no, for sure, Nick. I think I guess my thing more is I like thinking of the psychology behind being in those metaverses or using that technology here, right? I mean, we already have people who are a little hesitant to use anything crypto or Web3, and the metaverse isn't inherently about crypto or anything, but they kind of get tied together, right? Because they're doing it on blockchain technology. But I do see adoption being one of those things that it requires more use cases in real world stuff. So I don't know if you guys remember when augmented reality was getting to be really big. And I remember I forgot if it was Google, Microsoft, or Facebook. No, sorry,
Pokemon Go.
no,
When
not Pokemon
we-
Go. That was great. That was great.
that summer, you remember, I love when people say that's the first summer we got closest to world peace.
Yeah, but I was talking more about I think it was probably Google.
Google Lens.
Maybe, but more it was a commercial they released, right? And it was about augmented reality, and they showed a doctor looking at the physiological body without needing an actual like
body in front of them, right? A mechanic like going through a a motorcycle, right, part by part, right, with this augmented technology, and looking at it that way. A painter on a can, like little things like things like that that will help society that way. I'm more bullish on when the news start coming out that the metaverse is going to help doctors meet up with patients. Boom, I'm there. Whatever, whoever's building that, like, you get my money. You know what I'm talking about? But saying that, hey, instead of everybody going to, or I don't think it's going to replace Times Square when the balls drops, right? I still think Times Square is going to be packed to the brim on New Year's Eve, right? But yeah, I guess both can coincide. But I'm just very not bullish on the metaverse when it comes to, social gathering things. Like, I don't really see it overtaking in real physical stuff outside of just, physical distance. Like, if you're far away from somebody, then yeah, it'd be really cool if I could feel what it's like to hold like a long-term relationship, to hold my long distance girlfriend's hand on the metaverse, and if we're both wearing gloves and we can feel it. Sick, honestly, that sounds like really cool, right, for anybody in that. But I wouldn't say that that's going to be any type of technology that I feel like is going to make everybody adopt. But this has been a really sick episode. We're going to move forward now to our next section, the WTF section, who to follow. Kraznik, what we like to do here is we like to share anybody in the space that you feel would be a good follow for listeners, whether it's they're a developer, a project lead, an NFT project, literally anything you want. But that would be a good follow. I'll go first this time. Usually it's Nick that goes. I know he's probably like, "Whoa," because I'm gonna go first. But I actually just followed this person today. I saw their stuff, and here, let me grab his app right now. Imagine I just don't have it. And the guy's name is at Mr. Blockchain Dev. Is literally at MR Blockchain Dev. This guy is a blockchain developer at IBM. Allegedly, he's a PhD scholar. Previously worked at Amazon and Netflix. Um, and so now he's a blockchain developer, and he uses his Twitter profile to help web developers become professionals in their career. And he speaks on his stack seems to be JavaScript, React, everything blockchain, Web3, Solidity, and NFTs is what he kind of speaks on. So great follow for anybody who, like me, is, and like Kraznik, is trying to be a developer and engineer in this space and just wants to follow somebody like minded who's sharing some good content. Nick.
Word. My WTF for today is the DeFi Titan at Billion X Dev. That's BILLIONXDEV. He's a finance bro turned software engineer that writes really great DeFi and tech threads, and is the founder of Kairos Labs. And it's Kairos Labs XYZ. It's a Web3 service company specialized in launching NFT projects. And so he has a lot of interesting stuff. He talks about, Uniswap. He talks about crypto. He talks about, DeFi. And he also puts up polls, talking about, what do people want to hear about next. And so he's really interesting, can provide a lot of background on this space if you're looking for it.
Sweet, sweet. It's a good one. I gave him a follow. Kraznik.
Yeah, I'll like give three these people I follow. One is Patrick Collins. So like he's a hardcore dev in the space. He works at Chainlink, but he's like very friendly. You can DM him anytime. Like Patrick Collins at Patrick Alpha C.
Mm-hmm.
So that's his Twitter handle. Great guy, great insight, working in the space for a long time. And then one that I would like everyone to follow if they are in like the blockchain dev is Developer DAO. They are the best. They are literally the best
Woo!
at
I
like
just joined them
dev.
yesterday.
Yeah, man. Like great. Do you have the NFT?
Yeah, I just bought the NFT yesterday. I've been
Awesome.
they were a who to follow for me a few weeks ago, and I finally
Yeah.
bought the NFT yesterday, and I just got into Discord and everything. Oh, I'm so glad you
It's
mentioned that. I've been really.
crazy. It's crazy, dude. Like Developer DAO, they are the one of the best folks. Like Manny, Ryan, Adair. Like I know all of the folks inside out. Like I've been there from day zero, right? So I've
Oh,
seen
this
that grow. So developer DAO and one, let me check it out. One I would like definitely follow Steve Aoki, not Aoki, Woki, the founder of Gitcoin. His Twitter is @OWOCKI. So he like gives you like the philosophical and how we could do better, right? So definitely give him a follow. So yeah,
Cool.
developer DAO, Patrick Collins, and Steve.
Cool. Walkie. Oh, walkie.
Yep. Yes,
Sick.
Milwaukee.
Okay, cool.
Well, Kraznik, thank you so much for those WTFs. I gave them a follow, and I'll see you in the developer DAO. It sounds like I'm gonna go through my onboarding thing soon, and check them out. This has been another episode of the Kick Blocks podcast with your favorite co-hosts Nick and Dro, and our special guest Kraznik this week. Thank you everybody for listening in. Have a great one.